Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Jordyn. I'm a pharmacist by trade, and in my day job, I am the pharmacist in charge at RXO Community Pharmacy. So if you've heard of Express Scripts before, my company is called RX Outreach. They branched off, formed a nonprofit mail order pharmacy, and they've recently started their own brick and mortar and hired me to run that. So that is what I do every day. I am also the founder and president of St. Louis Black Pharmacists Association, where we gather on a mission to provide scholarships for pharmacy students, as well as get the Black pharmacists in the area together around community, because there are more of us out there than you think, and sometimes without that visual, as you said, if you can't be what you can't see, and so being able to come together, promote that for the students and the pharmacy space, but also younger students is our mission. And my why is, I say all the time that I am where I am today because of God and Black women. So it is my mission to be a Black woman that champions other Black women and people in general, and just promote that, you know, health and wellness is important, and it can look like whatever we want it to look like. And there are a lot of there's space that we need to take up in that same space, and so really just wanting to spread that message, and I'll talk a little more about that. Well, I'll just jump in briefly. He mentioned the word jargon, and that's something that in the medical field you hear all the time, this medical jargon and all these big words. And one of the things that he also touched on is being your true authentic self in that space. You can be a clinician and still be yourself. And we talked about this earlier, what is professionalism, right? One of the things that I've learned in my clinical practice, I used to operate as a clinical pharmacist as well, is that you're able to connect so much deeper when you're simply being yourself. Your patient isn't connecting to the big terminology that you learned in school. They're connecting to your superpower of being able to be you, break it down to them, and then simply say, hey, this is what all of that actually means. And if you can make them laugh and engage them even better, that's 10 times more effective than just listing off some numbers on a chart. That's 10 times more effective than just trying to show off how smart you are. But when you're able to show, again, that humanity, that's what really takes you and your clinical practice to the next level. That's what makes you sought after. I just want to say something really quick, brief story. So I mentioned our nonprofit. We have scholarships that we give away. And pharmacy is heavily female dominated, unfortunately, and we're trying to get more males. And I've had some opportunity to get some males a part of our organization, but they won't apply for scholarships. So I asked one of them, I said, why didn't you apply? He said, well, the letter of recommendation. I said, well, what was the problem? And he said, well, I reached out to my advisor or one of his professors earlier that year to get a letter of recommendation, and he didn't want to bug her anymore. And I said, that's precisely why you're there. So essentially what they're saying, don't ever, and I mean ever, feel like you're bothering anybody. If you are in school, if you're paying tuition, if you are working, if you're, whatever you're doing, the people that are above you or around you, utilize them, lean on them, get what you need out of that institution. They're gonna get what they need out of you. So you better make sure you do your part to get what you need. Don't ever let a scholarship go by because, oh, I didn't want to bug someone to write me a letter of recommendation. You can write the letter yourself and get them to sign it. Okay. I think when I read this question, the first thing that kind of popped into my mind was use social media, right? This isn't a tool that everybody has access to, whether or not they use it. Especially you're thinking about older generations who started to download Facebook and things of that nature. And it's exciting for me because when we're talking about access, everybody has a phone. And not everybody has a doctor's office down the street, right? So they may not be able to go and get proper medical care within their hometown, but maybe there is a healthcare influencer that's talking about the issues that really is important or impacting them. And so that's something that I would encourage you all as you go through your careers, as you go through your journey as a student, what lights you up? What makes you excited? What gets you going? And talk about it. Utilize your platform. Even if you're not a huge social media person, you can write on Threads or Twitter or something like X. I'm sorry, I'm acting old. X. And utilize those platforms to share the information that you're learning as a student. I think there's so many different ways, and now you've got AI and all of these different tools. Make sure that you don't waste the knowledge solely in your 9 to 5. Make sure that you're expanding that. And now that is not to say cross boundaries, because you need time for yourself. But when you have the opportunity, take that time to share information beyond just the scope of your work, but also to make sure that there is access there for the broader community, and that you know that you've done your part to spread those messages that are important to you and the community abroad. And I will just echo, he said, how dare I not? And that is really probably the biggest thing that got me through school, because my grandmother and my mother and all of these people who came before me, even if they were awful, they had to get to a certain point to help me get to where I am today, right? So that's the first part. Second part, pray about it. You know, I think there is a new wave that I'm loving to see of God coming back into our lives in social media and just in presence in general. And I'm going to say that here because I feel like we've gotten very far away from that. And I think that it warrants being said. So pray about it and believe wholeheartedly in yourself that nobody is coming to save you. You have to do it. You are the only person that can get to that finish line. It doesn't matter how many mentors you seek out. It doesn't matter how many coaches you have. It doesn't matter how many friends or family members are cheering you on. You don't get there without that belief in yourself. And thank you, 1,000%. I don't know if I could do it without y'all some days. That is what helps remind you of your why. But at the end of the day, you got to have that grit. As I heard somebody say, you got to have that dog in you. You know what I mean? You got to go after it. Because nobody's coming to save you. And I think keeping that in the back of your mind, like, I'm going to make something of myself. I am going to be somebody. And I don't care what everybody else did. I don't care. My whole family is doing absolutely nothing, but I am going to do something.